Can't slap that both.
All right, let's pray. God, for this day we give you praise. We thank you for all that you brought us through. We thank you that now you brought us to this Bible study session. We ask your blessings upon every person that's here, everyone who participates. We pray for those who have a desire to be here. Bless our studies that they might be fruitful. We might come to know you better and to serve you. And this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, before I get started, last week we talked about the creation of man. We went through at least 5 days of creation. And we set every day side by side against the scientific method. We're looking at creation from the period view of creation. I actually believe that biblically, when it says a day in the Bible, it is not 24 hours. Especially since you don't get 24-hour days until the 4th day of creation. So I tried to lay that side by side so you can see that I don't know, I'm pretty sure science has some issues with the Bible, but from what we did last week, we see that the Bible has no issue with science. Right? So before I move into day 6 tonight, which is the creation of man, I just want to know if there's any questions, because I hit you with a whole lot of stuff last week, and you had a whole week for it to marinate, and for you to get a grasp on it. Are there any questions before we move forward? Okay, so I either did a good job, or you said we don't know what in the world you're talking about. All right. All right. So let's move into Genesis chapter 1, beginning with verse 26. Day 6, we know God creates the animals. And then at the end of that, he creates mankind. And what he does in Genesis chapter 26, chapter 1, verse 26, through the end of the chapter, he echoes again or further expands on it in chapter 2. Right? So every day it says he did this and that day. It gets to day 6, it talks about the creation of man, and then he goes back and expands upon that creation in chapter 2. So let's start really just by, we've been doing this old school. Let's read these verses together, and then we'll pick up on, I think, some keywords and some hot button words that kind of jump out at us. All right, so let's start with verse 26 of chapter 1. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he him. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat." And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the 6th day. All right. So Genesis chapter 1 climaxes with the creation of man. And man then becomes the high point, the focal point of creation, right? There's some words that jump out here, some things that the text says. It says God created man. He said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, right? Again, one of the things when you read, the reason I try to get you to get used to reading is that some things ought to really just kind of hit you just from the reading of the text. So we've done now 6 days, and at the end of every day, God says what? It was good. Is that what he says at the end of day 6?
No, it was
It was very
very good.
good. Very good. All right? And so, you know, if God does something good, how do you get gooder than God, right? Right? And so God himself says that it's very good. So the emphasis here is that when he creates man, God does, you know, it's a crowning glory of his creation. Everything else is good. Creation of man is very good, right? So God says, you know, he gives this creation dominion over everything. He says, so that's a word that we need to deal with. What does it mean to have dominion? And then, of course, the question is, who has it? Right? So he said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. So the question for us to really deal with in these few verses, the very first question, probably the most important for me, is what does that mean? God makes us in his image and after his likeness. What does it mean to be in the image and likeness of God? Since your being an image bearer brings with it the declaration from God that it's very good, we ought to know what very good is, right? So what does it mean, what do you think, to be in the image and likeness of God? Do we look like it? Who's seen it? Right? Right? See, if somebody's seen your daddy, they say, boy, you look like your daddy. Right? But they've never seen it. They don't know. Right? So what does it mean? What do you think? It goes streaming, nobody wants to talk, right?
Yeah, Tatiana says she got it.
Okay.
Traits and qualities.
So we have traits and qualities like God. So God says, all right, characteristics, traits, qualities, characteristics like God. But are we really God-like in our traits, in our characteristics, in our qualities? Nah, no. Now, sometimes we might act like it, but, you know, but are we really?
No, just in terms of having the ability to think and reason.
Does
I'm
that-
not saying it's godlike.
Does that set us in the image of God, or does that set us apart from the animals? Because that's the difference between us and the animals. He gives us the ability to make moral choices, which they don't have. Gives us a will, which they don't have. They have animal instinct, right? And so that's why they're good, and we're very good, all right? All right, because we can make the choices. All right, I see y'all gonna be quiet on me today, all right? All right, let me hear that again. I see it in 2 places. 3 parts.
Like my mind, body, soul, and then like in his name, but the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, like that.
Okay, all right. All right. We're gonna Okay, all right. So let me dispel this fallacy in our understanding of who we are and what we are as it relates to being trichotomous, 3 parts, mind, body, and soul. So I said that chapter 2 expands the statements that he makes in chapter 1, right? All right, so let's go to chapter 2. Look at verse 7. Let's just read verse 7, chapter 2. He became a living soul. Not that he possesses a soul separate from his mind and from his body, but he became a living soul. Much of the easy answers in Scripture really come from our Western culture. We think like the ancient Greeks, and they thought that man was basically a soul stuck in the mud. So God creates us out of the dirt, and then he puts a soul in the midst of us, and we're trapped until the dirt goes back. But that's really not who we are, because it didn't say he gave us a soul. It says we are soul. So we are living souls. We don't possess a soul, we are a soul, right? So I think you're on the right track, I don't care, is that we are, in some sense, triune. Triune and in one mysterious union. So we are all of that together. But it's not 3 parts. It's just one. So yes, you got the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, but you don't have 3 parts. You don't have 3, 1/3 God, 1/3 God, 1/3 God. You have one God. And so in that sense, we are mind, we are body, we are soul. Right? We are soul. So that doesn't change. So that really means that we have, and I think that's where Carolyn was going with this, that one of the things that makes us in the image of God is that we have a relationship with God that no other creature, for that matter, no other thing in creation has. We share that triunity that God has, right? We are one, but still we are varied. We share that relationship with him. When he says it's very good, he breathes into us. The chapter 2 talks about how God did it, right? There's no place else in the Bible where it says God stooped down into the dust and made something, except us, all right? Everything else, even when he creates, does so by the unction of his will. But with us, he got personally involved, if I can say that, right? He got personally involved. And so we share a relationship. So being in the image of God means, first of all, that we share a relationship with God that nothing else in creation shares. There's nobody like mankind. There's nothing in creation like humankind. We get messed up when we start trying to make other stuff resemble us, right? But there's nothing else in creation like us. So we are his image bearers, his likeness. We have, again, I think that's where Carolyn was going. We have this emotional relationship that only humans can have with God. Right? We have a moral relationship, again, that only humans can have.
I was thinking about in the garden where I guess that's where my mind was, where Satan distorted what it meant, because he said, then you'll be like God.
Sure.
But I was thinking about those characteristics, but it doesn't make us like God, but that's what Satan.
Well, what he does is he attacks our image-bearing status. That's what Satan does. He attacks, and that's next week's lesson, by the way, but he attacks our image-bearer status, all right? So he goes right after our sense of moral choice, right? He goes after our intellectual ability. So he makes us reason things to come to the wrong conclusion. And then he distorts our relationship with God. Right? Those are the three things in terms of relationship that make us in the image and likeness of God. All right? All right. Then the second thing is that not only being in the image of God means that we're in a relationship with God, that we have a relationship that nothing else in creation has. The second thing is that we are representatives of God. So in his image, we are his representatives. So he gives us dominion. Right? Not domination, but dominion. He gives us responsibility, responsible charge for the stewardship of this world. And to do so as his representative. That becomes our responsibility. So we represent him. When Obama was trying to get the Affordable Care Act going, when he first came out with that idea, he was trying to get it really stoked up. He allowed me to be, he called it his surrogate, his representative. So I traveled all over the country. I would go and sit down with mayors, county execs, tell them what this program is all about and what it will do for that. And being a surrogate or his representative meant that whatever I said carried his weight. Right? So they could take it as if it came out of his mouth. So what God says to this world, that I'm putting man over you to be a steward over all that I've created, because you're good, but he's very good, right? And he is my representative as he speaks, and he gives us the freedom to speak and to carry on some things. Now, of course, the fall means we've distorted that. And we act like we're talking for him, but we really don't. All right? All right? So we begin to take on our own selfish desires and ambitions. But being an image bearer of God means that we are his representatives here. That's what we're supposed to be. His representatives on the earth. In a few minutes we'll go back, we'll go into chapter 2, and you'll see how he gives us that responsibility. All right? And then the third thing is that it's responsibility. All right? Being the image bearer of God means that we have responsibility to God and for God. So we act as a steward. Right? But we are responsible not to the earth. We're responsible to him. Right? We answer to God. Right?
So from the beginning, we were to be a representative.
Yes.
So then after the fall, like now when we're born, are we born as representatives or do we become representatives
we're actually born to be representatives. All right? That we don't lose that image, because that's actually one of the questions I really was going to leave with you today. You know, is it possible to lose your image bearer status? All right? So since you done brought it up, I may as well answer it now, right? All right? So you all can thank Karen for saying that. That's our homework, right? So what the fall does, it doesn't steal our image bearer status, it distorts it. Right? And so the process of salvation then is to bring us back into clear representation, clear relationship, and clear responsibility. Responsibility means you make moral choices. You make the right moral choices. We already know we don't do that, right? Right? So we have a real issue with that. So what Christ does is he brings us back into that fellowship where even when we don't make the right moral choices, he's already made them, so we get covered by his blood, right? I'm going to say that until I get to that class. But those are the three things that really mean to be, what it means to be an image bearer of God, to be made in God's image. Because you get in a lot of trouble if you try to walk around here and look like what you think God looks like. All right? And you know, people, that's one of the things that it disappoints me and tickles me all at the same time about church folk. Because they put on, many of them put on, I didn't say Christians, I said church folk. Many of them put on what they think is the look, being in the right relationship, right responsibility, you know. So they change their look coming from the parking lot to the front door of the church, right? You get this pious look on people's face. They get the stern look or the mean look, right? Right? I don't know why folk think that in order to make other people think you're a good Christian, you gotta look mean. So that's why I say it saddens me, but it also tickles me at the same time. Because you know, you see it happen. You know, one of the great blessings for me is I got that great big window in my house. You know, I can see everybody. I can see everybody coming in. You can't escape going in the other door. Only way you can escape is coming in that back door. All right? Because I sit there, I see folks going both doors. All right? And so it doesn't change. It doesn't change. Right? Right? Right. Now there are a couple of things in here that between chapter 1 and chapter 2, I think we need to be aware. We need to take a good look at. One is, in chapter 1, he says, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. Then he says, and let us give them dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the beasts of the earth, right? So, as he creates man in chapter 1, verse 27 says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. Chapter 2 gives us a different process, right? Chapter 2 says he creates Adam, right? And then he puts, that was verse 7 that we read, right? Verse 8 says that God puts him into the Garden of Eden, right? Verse 8, the man whom he had formed, right? And then God made all that stuff to grow. When you skip down, because I'm not going to go through all the rivers and all that stuff, but after God marched all those animals around him, right? Get the verse, no? Well, yeah, verse 18, it's not good for man to be alone. And then verse 21, the Lord caused a great sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, blah, 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 blah. All right. So the point is, in this process of the creation of man, you see God forming man, then putting that man into the Garden of Eden, giving him a job, making him work, causing him to name all of the animals, and then to see, because it matches the trees bearing herb and seed bearing, fruit. And so he looks and sees that every animal in creation, every living thing in creation has a counterpart but him. So God says that's not good. And so he creates then a woman. So the process is then that man comes first and then the woman. Hold that, because when you go back to chapter 1, you don't have a division. Chapter 1 says he created man in his image, male and female created he them. So you get this, you get him talking in the plural in chapter 1, then in the singular in chapter 2. Right? That's important because it gets to the heart of our understanding of men and women as image bearers of God. So who's the image bearer of God? Is it just a man? Or is it man and woman? And brothers, we outnumbered, so we may be careful to tread lightly tonight.
The way it's actually laid out is that man and woman.
Okay. I saw.
Because of the responsibility it gave man in the whole dominion.
So it gives both of them dominion. All right. So you have to be careful about it, that you don't separate the dominion aspect in chapter 1 as you separate the process of creating male and female in chapter 2. Because that happens. A lot of people do that. All right. So the bottom line is that when he creates man, he creates mankind. That's them. He doesn't create one man. He creates, well, he does create one man, but that's mankind, and he gives mankind dominion, right? Which means we have both male and female, we have the same relationship. That's what it means to be in the image of God, right? We have the same responsibility. That's in the image of God, and we have the same representative status. We are all responsible for the stewardship of this earth, male and female, right? Now, when you get to chapter 2, what he does is he gives us different jobs, different roles. So he then goes to the man. It's interesting when you read chapter 2. Chapter 1 just says man. He starts talking about it in chapter 2. It says the man. All right. So it goes from a plural discussion in chapter 1 to a singular discussion in chapter 2. So what he does is he takes this first man and makes him the representative head for all of mankind. Right? Places that responsibility on him. All of mankind. When he creates Eve, he says, this is your helpmeet. Now, both of them have dominion. It doesn't mean she has a lesser relationship, lesser representation, or lesser responsibility. She got a different role. And that's, in modern times, I think that's where we have trouble. We have difficulty distinguishing roles from responsibility. Right? And roles from, this concept of dominion and headship. So dominion in the Bible, in Genesis, is co-equal. And brothers, I'm sorry, but ain't none of this, I'm the boss, do what I say. That ain't biblical. That's social. All right? That's not biblical. The Bible says we have co-equal dominion. However, we do have different roles. Because as he sets the man up as a representative head, she has to help him. The very fact, help me. I want you to get this picture. All the animals have female counterparts, except Adam. And so God says it's not good for him to be alone. Because if he has access to every animal on the face of the planet, and he has no female counterpart, it ain't gonna be good. Right? 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 There's gonna be some smoke in the city, right? It ain't gonna be good. Right? And so what he does is he creates Eve and calls her a helpmeet. Right? The real thing here is, again, part of their responsibility as image bearers of God is to make moral choices. And so, by having this counterpart, this female counterpart, one of her responsibilities really is to help him make the right moral choices. Because without her, he's going to make some bad ones. All right? And so it's to help him make those right moral choices. She's created that way, which is why, I guess, by the time I get to the fall, we ain't going to have nothing to talk about. Because when Eve is confronted with Satan, her responsibility, her really is to help Adam make the right moral choice. But in fact, she makes the wrong moral choice and causes him, I ain't gonna say she causes him, but she doesn't help him make the right.
I mean, right says she the headship because
Sure. Right, right. But it's kind of a symbiotic relationship, all right? So, sometimes I look at the fall, I'm teaching my lesson tonight. Sometimes I look at the fall as the second greatest love story ever told. The first one, of course, is Jesus dying for our sin. The second greatest love story is the fact that Adam was willing to get put out of the garden for Eve. She ate. He could have said, God, she messed up, put it on me. I have representative headship. And at the very worst, she could have just got rid of Eve, grabbed another rib, made another. All right? Right? But he makes the moral choice to go with it. All right? So that in itself is a different story. So you've got these three. I put these three words up here. I know you didn't know what in the world these things meant, but I tried to give you the English idioms of the Hebrew words for Adam. In that first chapter, there are three words, and those who've been in Bible class a long time, you remember that Hebrew has no vowels. It's with breath marks for the vowels, and you have to determine, depending on where the breath mark is, what the word means. So this one is Adam. Refers to the man. This is Adam, which means mankind. This word is Dhamma, which means the earth, the ground. And so in those two verses there from Genesis 21, 27, 28, or in chapter 2, what you really have is, this is chapter 1. Let us make man, let us make Adam. in our image and after our likeness. You get to chapter 2 and he says, the man, he uses this word, Adam. When he talks about making the man from the dust of the earth, he uses this word. So it keeps us and reminds us that all of mankind is connected to the ground. It comes back to how he sets up the creation account itself. The firmaments, the ground, he comes back and he fills in the firmaments with the living beings, either in the air or in the sea. He comes back to the ground and he puts the beasts and creeping things. And even though he separates the creation of man from the creation of animals, the very fact that he uses this word reminds us that we too are connected to the ground, right? So we have a responsibility for that, and in addition to that, we have the breath of life, which means we are connected to God himself. And I mentioned this last week, because he connects everything with the inanimate part that he creates first. And fish have to stay connected to the water, they perish. Birds have to stay connected to the air, they perish. Animals have to stay connected to the ground, they perish. They don't eat grass, they die, right? We have to stay connected to the breath of God, or we perish, all right? And creation is established that way. From day 1 through day 6, he connects us with everything that he creates, with the inanimate things. He creates then those things that he made. So he makes animals to animate. Then he makes us as human. So he makes us different. Even though we're connected to the ground, he makes us different because he breathes into us the breath of life. So our creation is not just good. Our creation is very good. Right? This Adam, that means mankind. So this only includes that one individual. All right? Male by species. This includes all humankind. And then all humankind comes from the ground. All right? Now that's important because we just did 5 days with the scientific method. And we said, this stuff starts to have some issues when you get to day 6, because now you transition from the Big Bang theory to Darwin's theory of evolution. All right? And where we came from monkeys and all that. Right? But monkeys don't have the moral choice. Right? They don't have that. Which is science fiction. right? So it's science fiction. All right? Don't forget to put the fiction next to the science. It's not science. So
Caesar was good.
Caesar was good. Right. So the animal world does not make those distinctions. And again, even the science, and I think I've said this before, if I didn't make it to the daytime class, one of the issues with the science of this, again, I don't argue with the scientific method, because I don't think there's an argument between them and the Bible. I really don't. I think the problem is they start from the wrong end of the spectrum. They start from, they look at the universe thrown out as far as it can go, and they're starting to contract and try to trace things back to the beginning. We start with the beginning and go to the revelation, right? So we start at Genesis. Now what happens is we meet somewhere in the middle, and we try to figure out, at this point, we come together, and we try to figure out who's right. But the theory of evolution from Darwin is not the first theory of evolution. And it's caught on more in, I won't say recent years, even though it's a couple hundred years, but it's caught on. In science, if you're within a couple million years, you're considered spot on. The Bible, if you're around 100 years, 500 years they're considered spot on, right? So, Darwin's theory of evolution is developed at a time, probably one of the most chauvinistic times in human history, right? Male dominant, right? And so he picks. When I was in college, he made us read, I think, my first year in sociology, he made us read this book, Desmond and Morris, called The Naked Ape. I don't know if any of y'all had to read that in school. Called The Naked Ape. Basically, it studies simian culture, and then says, you know, how much alike we are, except the area of moral choice. They don't do it as offensively. And so it was supposed to, again, reveal to us how we come from the ape. But in simian, I won't call it culture, but in apedom, right? Right. The male is always in charge. Always in charge. Right? Dominating, not just dominating. And the female is subservient to that. Well, even before Darwin came up with that, probably from the time of the Greeks, the most prevalent theory of evolution was that humankind came from dolphins. Right? Dolphins. Again, when we get the 6 days of creation, we know all life comes from the water. All of it. Right? Even in creation. It started in the water first. Then he took them from the water and put them in the air. They dropped those seeds, they put them on the earth. Right? That's the way the Bible spells it out. Right? So we don't have an argument with science. It starts in the water. Right? So they said the dolphin somehow came up, you know, he's a mammal. The dolphin is a mammal, he or she. It's a mammal, they plop up, you know, and some miraculously stand up on 2 feet, and I think they have to grow feet. I don't know, you know, how many million years. But they have the mind, they have the intellect, you know, much greater intellect than monkeys. Smarter than they are, right? So but the difference is this: the reason the dolphin theory gets replaced with the ape theory is that dolphins, male and female in the water, co-equal. There's no domination between male and female, right? So in a male-dominating culture, you don't push the theory of evolution that puts women at the same level as men, right? So that's really why Darwin's theory caught on more than the dolphin theory. Even though the dolphin theory has been around hundreds of years, probably more than 1,000 years before Darwin ever came up with it. But biblically, again, co-equal, we don't have these issues, right? Our problem comes because we misinterpret things. We read our culture into it rather than taking our clues from the Bible, right? Any questions?
The structure between Adam and Adam, is that the same structure that's used in Abram and Abraham?
Yep. Same structure. So he adds to Abraham's being. He puts into Abraham certain responsibility as being the father of many nations. So he renames Abram. Because the name Abram comes out of a culture of idol worship. People forget that. He calls him out of the land of Ur, the Chaldees. You ever read that? We always start with chapter 12 with Abram as he's making his way through the promised land to Egypt. And we forget to read the last couple verses in chapter 11, where the word believed that actually came to Abram's daddy. And the whole family gets up. Right? His dad, Terah, and his brother, Haran, and Haran's wife, Haran's son Lot, and they all leave from Ur the Chaldees together. And somewhere along the line, Haran dies. And they named the city after him. And Daddy said, I can't go no further. I lost my oldest son. Right? And Daddy stays there. Everybody stays there except Abram. And he says, I'm taking Lot with me because my brother is dead. My responsibility now is to raise my brother's son. And he takes him with him and goes to the promised land. Sometimes we miss that. And they all got to call to lead. Abram got to call to be God's representative. To bring the Messiah in person. So, yeah, that's the same.
Okay, my other question was, in terms of evolution, how do people who believe in that, how do they account for the fact that the species that they claim we came from, that those species did not evolve into humankind?
Ignore it.
Oh.
They ignore it. And they say, we don't know because we have not found the missing link. There's this link between us that they can't find. Incidentally, they had the same problem with the dolphin theory. They can't find the missing link. So somewhere in there, it's missing. And if they can find it, they can answer that question. But since they can't find it, they just say, well, we'll just put that question on hold until we find the missing link. We're going to find it, right? But you're absolutely right. Why, if we evolved, if a monkey got smart and became a man, how come all monkeys are not as smart as all men? Right? So, all monkeys are not as smart as all monkeys. I don't know. Right?
There should be, I'm thinking there should be no more monkeys at some point.
Right. Hmm?
Survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest.
Why are they still here?
Why are they still? Exactly. Because one or two things should have happened. If we, and that's Darwin too. If we evolved from them, and we're smarter than them, we should have wiped them out. You know, so ergo, you're the planet of the apes. Because that's what it's based on. The survival of the fittest. That both of these species should not coexist. We should not be on this planet. If you follow Darwin's theory of evolution to its logical conclusion, there should be either man or monkey, not both. Right? Because the thing that we once were should cease to be. There's no more Cro-Magnon man in around, right? What happened? We got smarter than them. We got rid of them, right? According to evolution, right? As we got smarter, that's a different kind of man, right? And we don't even have the same features. Different kind of man. If you go through that theory of evolution, you'll see that in several stages, right? Different kind, and it means that the next evolution was superior to the prior one, and the prior one couldn't survive. But there's still monkeys around, right? And so we came from him, and it doesn't make sense, right, to still have monkeys and no Cro-Magnon men, right? So we don't really look at that. They don't look at it because they want to put all that on the missing link piece that you can't find. If we ever find the missing link, we can straighten all that out. You can't find it, all right? No, you won't find it, right? Because again, they come at it from the wrong end, right? Coming at it from the back end and traveling backwards to explain everything that happened when we started. That's why I said when we started with Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God, right? And science says there was this one singularity. Well, in the beginning, God, that's singularity. All right? So if you start from the same place, you might end up in the same place. Right? But that hadn't happened. Science.
So, for the fact
before creation, right?
Well,
Right. Right. So if we talk about all the animals on the earth, who knows how long that is? See, once we, I don't get it. How once we get to the creation of man, all of a sudden that happened in a day. But everything else took an eon, right? Why did not the development of man? Particularly since God took his time and put his hands in the dust and created us, right? So, is there room? Maybe that's a good place. Since he didn't speak us into existence, he created us. Now, there's only two instances where he really talks about, it says in the beginning God created heaven and earth, but then everything else for 5 days he spoke. It's day 6 and he creates. He made the animals. He created the animals. And then he made us, right? And then he made us different from the animals. And he impressed that upon Adam by walking all those things in front of us. Made us different from the animals. So our creation was good. So if those things, if we follow the same pattern that we did when we did the Big Bang Theory last week, and if they say it took 100 million years for the earth to cool down enough to get hard so we get condensation out of the cold of space and get the oceans covering this rock we got in space, then why wouldn't it take 100 million years for the development of the species as God created? It didn't say God just, we got James Weldon Johnson in our mind, He stepped down on the earth and scooped the mountains out with his feet, and then just made him a man with it, as if God was putting together jigsaw puzzles. It ain't like it wasn't that easy for him. But the thing is, that if we're talking about a period of time, a process, this is not 24 hours and 24 minutes. It could be 24 million. It could be 224 million years from our time. And they ain't nothing but a minute in God's time. All right? But it could be a long time. So, for me, I was going to do this as a question too, but I guess I'll just, since y'all got scared off with the streamers. Ain't nobody talking with me, right? that leaves room in the concept of evolution for this doctrine of the image of man in the image of God, right? Because all of this is what God intended with us and for us as he made us. Doesn't mean he made us like that, right? We don't know how long from our reckoning of time that took, right? Again, we're talking a period view of creation. And I talk about 7 24-hour days and a 5,000-year-old earth. Right? The Bible does not teach that. Right? Because you've got 4 days, right, before you even get 24-hour days. So you've got 4 periods of time. We don't know how long each one of those are. So, yeah, so I have no problem with the concept of dinosaurs in the Bible, because who knows how long all of these animals are, right? And of course, who knows again with the fall how that distorts, because the fall of man distorts the whole earth. There's scientific. How long is it before, when God puts the creeping things on the earth, before he actually forms man? We don't know. We don't know how long that is. That could be the whole age of dinosaurs. We have no idea. Right? Huh? He named everything that we know. Right? Right? So, if there was some stuff that was there before he got there, if they were gone before he got there, he couldn't name what wasn't there when he got here. You see what I'm saying? So you could have had the whole age of dinosaurs in extinction long before Adam even got made. biblically. So I don't want you all to think that I'm taking science aside on this. This is you actually account for it biblically. Right. Well, there's all kinds of places to fit them in. All right. And then again, as I said before, we're not even taking into account yet the presence of Satan's influence on God's created order. We know what happens in the garden, right? But even the Bible tells us that the garden was just a specific part of the whole creation of the earth. The whole earth wasn't the garden. Right? So we don't know what, and if you follow, I think I mentioned to you a couple weeks ago, you follow the garden motif through the whole Bible, you discover that in the garden there's a certain tranquility, a certain peacefulness. Certain things cannot happen in the garden, but outside the garden, it's a totally different story. Right? David said in the garden, the lion laid down with the lamb. We know that don't happen, right? Right? Because if the lamb gets anywhere near that lion, it's dinner. Right. And so what you have in the Bible is you got a process of moving from garden to garden until ultimately we end up back in the garden. So that's really the whole story of the human condition, is that we got put out of the garden and we spent all of human history trying to get back, and we can't do it. We got to have somebody else to bring us back to this garden. We have responsibility, relationship, and representation, right? Those things are what it means to be in the image and likeness of God. So if we're in the image and likeness of God, here's a question. I'm going to throw this one out. And our creation is very good. We have the ability to make moral choices. No other living creature does. Is it possible? Is it possible for humankind to lose its image-bearing nature? We're the image bearers of God. Is it possible for us to stop being the image bearers of God? Is it possible? Is it possible for humankind to lose being an image bearer of God? Right? Can the image of God ever be lost in man? That's the best way to do it. I want to ask, can you lose your soul? Because I already said you don't have a soul. You are a soul. So if you lose your soul, you cease to be. You are not. Right? I'm gonna get Carolyn Gomer's Star Trek analogy. You are swept up, swallowed up in a mindless singularity. All right? So you cease to be. You cease to be. So not if you lose your soul. Can we lose the image? Can the image of God ever be lost in man? If we are his image bearers, can that image ever be lost in us? So he created us in his image. Okay. So how can we lose it? Okay. All right. I don't know. I'm asking you. That's your answer. I'm asking you to explain your own answer. Right?
I don't think we can.
Okay. We can lose it in man's eyes but not in God's. All right. And that means that we really don't lose it, right?
So I would say,
Somebody would look at us and make a value judgment on our moral choices.
we distort it.
We distort it.
It's like I said earlier.
Right.
I think we have to, because, yeah, that's the most we can do is distort it.
What's Paul saying in 1 Corinthians chapter 13? Right? We call it the love chapter, but it really isn't. It's the spiritual gift chapter. Right?
So we
distort it. Yeah, which means we distort it. We lose our effectiveness as a representative. If we strain our relationship, right? If we abdicate our responsibility, we distort the image of God in us, right? So Paul says near the end of that though I speak with the tongues of men and not the kind of angels and have not love, I become the sound of brass and things simple, right? Gets to the end of that, he says, near the end, he says, now we see through a glass darkly, right? Somebody read it, right?
And now in the scripture, then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known.
All right. Then shall I know as also I am known. By who? By God. Right. So now we see even ourselves through a glass darkly, right? Or mirror dimly. That's a literal translation. So when we look at ourselves, the image that's reflected back is a distorted image. Right. But when he brings us back full circle, we will see clearly, then we will know even as we also are known. Not by ourselves, not by other folks. Eric said we lose it in the sight of God. God don't care what other people think of us. What's important is what God thinks of us. All right? And so God says we are his image bearers. And so we will come to where we see that clearly again. Face